Welcome back, everyone. Look, if you're passionate about keeping a pristine marine aquarium, you already know that balancing that ecosystem is a constant, though super rewarding challenge. Today in this explainer, we're setting the stage to absolutely neutralize one of the most notorious, resilient invaders out there, the Aiptasia anemone. So gear up because we're going to walk through a complete tactical playbook to take your tank back.
Let me ask you something. Have you recently noticed a tiny, kind of deceptive glass-like organism just popping up in the dark corners of your tank? At first glance, it might actually seem like a cool new hitchhiker, but make absolutely no mistake. If left unchecked, this hidden invader will rapidly outcompete your prized corals for space and resources. It is a massive threat to your reef stability, and spotting it early, that's literally half the battle.
All right, let's dive right into today's mission briefing. We're taking you from enemy identification all the way to securing the perimeter. First, identifying the invader. Then, the fragmentation threat. After that, we'll hit the elimination battle plans and we'll wrap it all up with preventing future outbreaks.
Okay, moving right into Section 1, identifying the invader and spotting the enemy early. We've got to learn exactly how to spot this reclusive pest before it completely takes over. Aiptasia are very commonly called glass anemones, and when you first see them, they just look like delicate, totally harmless little creatures. But seriously, don't let that fragile look fool you for a second. They are incredibly fast-expanding competitors, and because their appearance can actually shift depending on the specific strain and your tank's exact conditions, knowing exactly what you're looking at is the absolute foundation of getting rid of them. So let's run through the visual cues. First off is their rapid response. They'll retract in a flash if the lights change, if food drifts by, or honestly, even if you just walk past the glass. Structurally, look for a bubble or a column body, basically a slender stalk with a bulb-like top and translucent tentacles. The color variation is pretty wild too. They can be clear, tan, yellow, green, or even dark tones. Finally, watch for clumping growth. You'll often see multiple individuals popping up right next to each other as the infestation spreads like wildfire. Now, it's pretty easy to get tricked up here, because some beneficial anemones can kind of resemble Aiptasia from a distance. But when you compare them side by side, the Aiptasia pest is deceptively sneaky. It's usually smaller, way more reclusive, and prefers to ambush your tank from hidden rock seams, dark crevices, and your overflows. Beneficial anemones, they're typically larger and much less likely to just hide away inside your filtration. Section 2, the fragmentation threat, multiplying pests.
This is where it gets really interesting, and honestly, a little terrifying. Think of Aiptasia like the mythical Hydra. If you strike it the wrong way, it just multiplies. It does this through tissue fragments. If you stress this anemone out, or try to cut it improperly, or even miss slightly with a chemical treatment, it hits the panic button. It literally releases microscopic pieces of its own tissue straight into the water column. Those tiny fragments just float away, stick to a new rock, and grow into completely new Aiptasia. Boom, you've just multiplied your problem.
And that brings us to this absolutely critical quote from our source material. One and done approaches often fail. Because of those crazy, resilient tissue fragments, if you just try to wipe them out in one quick, messy pass, you are going to lose that fight. You have to successfully remove the mouth and the tentacles without leaving a single piece of the living base behind. And you've got to manage those potential fragments immediately. Section 3, elimination battle plans and safe elimination methods. So, how do we actually strike back? Let's open the arsenal. We have 4 main tactical options here, scaling all the way from treating one isolated pest to battling a massive tank-wide infestation. The right choice completely depends on how widespread the issue is, the sensitive corals you've got nearby, and how easily you can reach the rock. We'll quickly break down direct chemical, physical removal, biological assistance, and an integrated strategy. First up, direct chemical control. There are plenty of treatments formulated specifically to disrupt anemone tissues. But here is the secret. Delivery is everything. You can't just dump this stuff into your water. You need a syringe to precisely deliver it directly onto the anemone's mouth or upper column. That's how you save your other corals from collateral damage. Pro tip here, kill your flow temporarily. Turn off those wave makers so the chemical sits exactly where you inject it. Option 2 is physical removal. This is great for isolated hitchhikers. But remember the Hydra effect, you literally cannot just pluck it off. To do this right, you must extract the entire base. The absolute best way? Pull the affected rock completely out of the tank, aggressively scrub the pest off, and then rinse that rock thoroughly in aquarium salt water. It has to be salt water, but the rinse ensures you aren't dumping microscopic fragments right back into your main display. Tactic 3 is biological assistance. Basically, nature's backup plan. Certain reef fish and invertebrates will actually happily munch on Aiptasia. But, and this is a big but, biological options are rarely the silver bullet, especially for a heavy infestation. Results vary wildly depending on your specific tank and that individual animal's appetite. Use biology as a helpful teammate for sure, but make it part of a larger plan.
And that brings us to the ultimate tactic, the integrated strategy. The most successful reefers don't just rely on one method. They combine a direct chemical knockdown to halt the immediate growth, and they pair that with rigorous, scheduled spot checks over the next few weeks. Keep your lights stable, stare at that rockwork, and be ready to strike again, because new buds will very often pop up within a few days to weeks.
Section 4. Preventing future outbreaks and ensuring long-term peace. All right, you've cleared the visible threat. But the mission isn't quite over, is it? We need a routine to ensure this invader never comes back. Here are 3 active, totally simple steps. 1. Frequently inspect your rock seams and shaded areas, especially if you change up your flow or feeding routine. 2. Maintain rock-solid water parameters. And 3. Never, ever introduce new live rock or coral frags without quarantining and deeply inspecting them for tiny polyps first. Catch those fragments before they can launch a counterattack.
Let's zoom in on that second point, because tank stability truly is your best defense. Rapid swings in nutrients, water flow, or lighting, that stresses your corals out. And when your corals are weak, it creates the exact opportunistic gaps that pests like Aiptasia need to take hold and return. Keep your parameters dialed in and siphon out detritus regularly so these guys don't have any room to breathe. Now, what if things just completely get out of hand? If the infestation is spreading everywhere, treating single spots one by one is going to drive you crazy. It's time to escalate. You might need to step up to treating entire pieces of rock outside the tank, using extended periods of zero flow during chemical dosing, or honestly just consulting your local expert reef retailer. Getting a pro's eyes on a tank-wide outbreak can save you a ton of time and save your livestock a lot of collateral stress. The line between constant frustration and long-term reef success isn't about finding some magic cure in a bottle. It's about accurate identification, completely destroying the base of the anemone, and relentless follow-through. So, armed with this tactical playbook, take a really close look at your reef tonight. Are you truly the master of your ecosystem, or are microscopic invaders quietly plotting their next takeover right there in the dark corners of your rockwork? Keep exploring the hidden dynamics of your tank. Thanks for hanging out for this explainer, and happy reefing.